to the Fishwrapper podcast. Our goal is to bring you story content to inspire, encourage, and uplift your soul. It's our hope you find these stories refreshing, thought-provoking, and motivating as you face the challenges of everyday life. So turn us up and tune your ears, and let's get started by jumping right into the story.
The Invisible Leash, read by Kirsten Bayshore. Pancho came to us as a tiny, gray wisp of fur with an ugly, wrinkled face, tight-closed eyes, and a bushy stub dangling at the other end of him. His pink paws clawed the air weakly as the carpenter's helper held him up by the scruff of the neck.
"I found this out by the woods,"
he announced. "What is it?" my wife Hazel wanted to know. The carpenters stopped the remodeling work they were doing on our house and came on over.
"It's a coon."
One said.
"No, wildcat."
Another insisted. The thing squeaked. "Well, whatever it is, it needs food," said Hazel maternally, and disappeared into the kitchen. Minutes later, the little fellow was contentedly sucking formula of 1 part sugared water and 1 part warm milk from an eyedropper Hazel dug out of the medicine cabinet. A week later, Pancho, we'd named him even before we knew what he was, graduated to the bottle and nursed 4 times a day and once at night, squealing for his food when it failed to come on time. For his bed, I rigged up a warm den in a box. He grew fast, and it soon became evident, as each day his tail took on a more distinct color of red, that he was a red fox. Foxes are common in our part of Missouri, but they are rarely domesticated. Ordinarily a sullen animal, this near relative of the dog is wild and sly and craves his freedom above all else. But it soon became evident, too, that Pancho was no ordinary fox. In fact, somewhere along the line, Pancho's wires had been crossed, because he obviously, and unashamedly, believed himself to be a dog. When he was 2 weeks old, he took up residence under the house and began exploring the neighbors' yards and roaming the woods nearby. He was allowed to come and go as he pleased, and alternated his environment between indoors and outside by scratching at the door persistently in his demands for entrance or egress. This open sesame system was liable to occur at any hour of the day or night and was, to say the least, unhandy. But by this time, Hazel and I were so fond of Pancho that we were willing to take anything that he might hand out, despite the inconvenience. After the second week, Pancho was weaned to solid foods, and when this evolutionary process was over, his appetite had extended to include every possible edible substance, though his favorite food was pancakes. You could actually hear his stomach growl when a hot flapjack lay steaming on a plate anywhere within range of the radar-like perception of his sensitive nose. Chicken bones would make him whirl and dance like any dog, begging for scraps, barking, and whining. But strangely enough, despite his taste for chicken bones, Pancho never attacked any of the neighbors' fowls, and he frequently got into the chicken yards during his daily exploratory rounds. As the months passed and Pancho took on the shape and size of a mature fox, he simultaneously adopted more of the habits of a dog. In a sense, Pancho was really more of a dog than most dogs are. Frustrated as he was, he proceeded to demonstrate his dogginess by winning the good grace of all the neighbors and becoming the canine leader of the community. If Hazel or I laid down a magazine or shoe or any other portable item he could get his mouth around, Pancho would snatch it up and make off with his loot like any playful, mischievous dog, an unmistakably sly grin curling his pointed, intelligent face from ear to ear. But Pancho was unpredictable. One morning, we woke up to discover him sitting on top of our car like an emperor on his throne, looking down on the masses from his exalted position. From that day forth, the first thing we saw each morning was Pancho on top of the car, commanding a sovereign's eye view of the surrounding area. In a way, Pancho had every right to do this. Didn't magnificent collies and aristocratic terriers seek him out for his company? And didn't he have at least a nose-touching acquaintance with every dog in the community? His favorite cronies were a collie and a Mexican Chihuahua. He would spend many hours of rough-and-tumble play with the collie, and he would tease the explosive, pint-sized Chihuahua until it was provoked into fighting. But during the ensuing battles, Pancho was careful not to hurt his quick-tempered little friend.
We hope you've been enjoying this story. We will continue in just a moment, but first we pause to bring you the sponsor for this episode. If your business isn't using key marketing tools, you could be missing out on valuable opportunities to grow. That's where Little Mountain Printing comes in. They offer powerful marketing solutions like postcard mailers, brochures to showcase your products or services, websites to attract new customers, and promotional products to show your appreciation to clients. With the right marketing in place, your business has the best chance to thrive. Get started today by calling Little Mountain Printing at 717-933-8091 or visit them online at littlemountainprinting.com. Now let's return and finish the story.
One day, I got out my shotgun and started off to do some rabbit hunting. Pancho tagged along. When we arrived in the area of the game, a sudden change came over Pancho. He grew tense. His ears pricked up, and his long pointed nose began to quiver. In the next minute, he was transformed into the most efficient and eager hunting animal I've ever watched perform. What's more, within a minute after he had plunged into a thicket and disappeared, rabbits began to scatter out of it in all directions. Then Pancho himself burst from the brush on the heels of a big jackrabbit. In the next few seconds, it became apparent that he was deliberately maneuvering the rabbit toward me. I recovered from my surprise just in time to get a bead on the jack. The gun boomed. The rabbit fell, kicking. And in the same instant, Pancho yipped, tucked in his tail, and let out for the hills in terror. He didn't show up for the rest of the day, and it wasn't until 3 a.m. the next morning that I heard his nervous scratching at the door. I opened it and admitted one very disturbed, hungry red fox. I was so glad to see him back that I went straightway to the kitchen and prepared him a batch of pancakes. After stowing a few of these under his belt, Pancho wagged his tail, dog fashion, to indicate all was well, and that he was home again. Then, yawning expansively, he curled up on the floor for some shut-eye. Pancho soon overcame his gun shyness and seemed anxious to accompany me every time I stepped outside to get a rabbit for supper. He became so adept that he could rustle up more game than any 2 dogs, and he delighted in manipulating them into range of my shotgun. In the fall, when Pancho was about 9 months old, we took a vacation. Neighbors who were on good terms with Pancho agreed to feed him while we were away. As we drove off and left him, they told us, he appeared to look like he was being deserted. He sat in the lane for a long while, looking after us. Then he slipped off quietly into the timber. When we returned 10 days later, a change had come over Pancho. It was almost imperceptible, but Hazel and I could sense it. He was restless and aloof, and seemed to be listening for something calling him from far off. He took to disappearing for several days at a time, returning at odd hours to scratch on the door and whine for food. I never failed to get up, no matter what the hour, and feed him. Fearing that someone might shoot him for a wild fox during these periods of wandering, I got a collar for him to which were attached little bells. The bells, I hoped, would also make it difficult for him to hunt his food and force him to stay closer to home. One winter night, Hazel and I were startled out of our sleep by the worst din of howling, barking, and all-around clamor we'd ever heard. Rushing outside, we were greeted by an excited pack of stray hounds that had something cornered under the house and were frenziedly trying to get at it. In the midst of the commotion, we made out the tinkle of a bell. It came from the cornered creature's hiding place. A quick look in the beam of a flashlight confirmed the identification, and a few minutes later, after we'd chased off the protesting hounds, we managed to coax a terrified Pancho from his sanctuary and get him into the house. He was upset and confused. The stack of pancakes we set before him only vaguely elicited his interest. He seemed preoccupied as he ate, and frequently his head would raise, his ears would prick up, and he would listen intently. After a while, Pancho went to the door, scratched on it urgently with one long, exquisite paw, and looked back at me expectantly. When I opened it for him, he hesitated for a moment in the doorway, as if torn between 2 alternatives of which he was forced to choose one. He looked first inside at us, and then outside toward the woods and the hills beyond. Then, with a sad, friendly wag of his bushy tail, he turned from us and trotted off down the path to disappear in the darkness. We never saw Pancho again. I do not know whether his betrayal by the hound dogs shocked him into realization of the difference between himself and real dogs, or whether he had been held to his strange existence by an invisible leash of love, a leash from which he was by nature destined one day to slip free. There had always existed an intangible, elusive quality in Pancho. Hazel and I think he's still out there, trotting the forest trails and snooping in the yards and gardens of some, possibly not too far away, community. And we wouldn't be the least bit surprised to be aroused some morning by the old familiar yapping coming from the top of our car. Pancho, home again, and announcing his return. The end.
Thank you for listening to this Fishwrapper episode. We hope you enjoyed it and will join us again soon when we unravel another adventure from the pages of the Fishwrapper. We encourage you to like and subscribe to this podcast, ensuring you never miss a new episode. And feel free to drop us a comment, as we'd love to hear from you. See you again soon, and may our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ guide you.